Good
So,
deal. Cool. Well, I'm in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm in the middle of the
okay.
country. So,
hmm
but it's great to meet you. I love your story. I love your background. And
Thank you.
before we get into your world as a coach, I want to know 4 years ago we were wrapping our heads around this whole pandemic. And I'm
Sure.
curious how you survived that time period and how it subsequently changed you.
Well, to me, the pandemic opened up all the new doors that we now sort of take for granted, right? YouTube went nuts, right?
Yeah.
So you can't swing a stick without finding yoga, fitness, something, and everybody was putting out. I was doing the courses and trying to connect with people virtually, and we found out that you don't necessarily need to be in front of a person to have them guide you, right? All we need to see is the form in good ways. There's a huge market for being online. There's a safety in being online. There's a convenience in being online. And I think it opened up a new world to people. Yes, it hurt a lot of people. Now, at that time, I have a small private gym that I run out of my house. And that basically took us down to nothing for a little while. But the online world really opened up, right? And it stayed opened up. It worked for myself, it worked for my wife in her coaching, and it just fantastic, right? So, yes, it is problematic, but it opened new doors and new avenues that we didn't have before, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of convenience. Now, there's a lot of struggle because what I do is very physical. So if I'm going to take you through a workout routine, a coaching routine, and we need a couple dumbbells and a bench or something, that's fine. But I'm also a jujitsu coach. Jujitsu's tough. Only can go so far before we got to put our hands on somebody, right?
Yeah.
That there is a thing. So we have to sort of find that comfort level and that middle ground, right? Now, generally, as I coach, what I like is you can dip your toes on a lot of different ponds and figure out, oh, am I going to be I've just started my fitness journey. Am I walking, or am I going to, do I have to go to a CrossFit gym? You can sort of fiddle around with some things, because one of the things that happened is people sort of lost the passion, right? People sort of lost that idea. Well, everybody had that initial thought, well, I'm going to use this time to learn 3 languages and read 50 books. And then what happened is everybody figured out where their level was, right? What's their human nature? What are they going to fall back to? And a lot of it was complacency, right?
Yeah.
But the tools are there. That's the neat part. The tools are there. The interactive nature is there. I've got kids that I teach online from a homeschool curriculum, right? And they don't want to. They don't want to travel. They don't want to drive. But their schedules are so different than kids that are in a brick and mortar school
Yeah.
that maybe are going to after school programs, or they're maybe going to something in the evening time. So it opened up all kinds of doors. um, was it challenging? Of course it was, right? But a lot of people figured out how to meet that challenge, rise to it, and then create a product that more people could enjoy. Now the challenge is getting those people, right? Getting the more wide range of people to not only enjoy it, but figure out where their passion lies and
Yeah.
what they'll commit to, which is, I think, what I'm finding is to be the biggest problem, right? Is how guiding people. What will you commit to for the long term? What are you having fun with
Yeah.
that people can take advantage of? And I tend to think that's tricky.
So let's get to the heart and soul right now in
Sure.
2024 of what you do on a daily basis. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders at career day, and one of the kids says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
That's pretty straightforward. I coach people in different environments, right? So some people will come to my gym. I have classes which I'm running every day in kickboxing and jujitsu. I have a group of people that I train. I consult with people. How do we manage our current fitness goals, right? A lot of people come to me and say, "Hey, I found this 12-week yoga program on YouTube and I love it. I'm doing it. How can I make it better?" Right? What do I need to eat? What do I need to drink? How do I maximize what I'm doing? I have other people that I have no idea what I'm doing, so I will coach them, right? Or a lot of times people don't like that, so they'll send me the videos, and then I will correct them. I will send back my recommendations. So I right now I have a wide swath of things I'm doing. I'm also doing, which is to me fascinating, is a lot of the mental game coaching. And not even for athletes, right? Just for people. How do I get through the day and feel like I'm an athlete, I'm productive, and it's rewarding. So now we're tying in not only maybe a workout kind of aspect, but how do I do, it's very popular, like what's my morning routine, right? I go on Instagram or TikTok and everybody's showing me this magic morning routine, right? Well, what's yours, right? Let's figure out what yours is going to be, and then you can TikTok that yourself if you want to,
Yeah.
right? There's just so much goofiness out there. Let's figure out what's going to actually work for you.
Yeah. What
So
did you want?
that's my day.
Yeah. So what did you want to be in the third grade? What was your dream?
In the third grade, that would have been probably Knights in Shining Armor. I
Yeah.
was in that kind of thing, right? Like my dad and I used to watch all the either cowboy movies or I grew up on like Ivanhoe and Camelot and stuff that I'm 52 as of yesterday, so I grew up in that era with a lot of that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
I think reflecting back on that, I had the spectrum of wanting to be, um, I would say, anything that would help somebody. Firefighter at one point, and then I wanted to be a police officer, and then at one point, when a little more serious, like my father, I was contemplating going into the Navy, and those kind of things. What would be of some kind of service, right? But because at an early age, probably right around fifth grade, I get heavily involved into martial arts. That steered my life for the rest of it, right?
Yeah.
And then back in those days, the introduction to martial arts was really horrible Chinese movies. We had this thing called Kung Fu Theater
Yeah.
on really late at night.
Uh-huh.
And I would wait for my dad to come home from work because my folks had separated at the time, and I would wait for him. That was our thing, right? And in the late 70s, to have the dad as the single parent was a little unusual. So
Yeah.
we had these little rituals that we did, right? He would put up with my Chinese kung fu movies, and I would put up with his cowboy movies, right? And then, but then you had that's when the Ninja Turtles started.
Yeah.
That's when and then a little bit later, Power. So right now, martial arts is in our cultural consciousness, right? There's a lot of movies, ranging from very serious movies, John Wick and the like action things, into more kid friendly kind of things.
Yeah.
My kids go through YouTube and or even on Netflix. There's just tons of martial arts stuff out there.
Yeah.
And so it's not foreign to the
Right.
American consciousness now as it was before. So once that happened, I was pretty much hooked,
Yeah.
right,
For
in
sure.
some form of martial arts.
So who's been a hero for you, an inspiration in your life?
Um, in terms of generally speaking, right, like broad stroke, I was introduced a lot from my father and a lot of people in my life to people like Da Vinci, right? My dad had me read up on him when maybe I wasn't really interested in the beginning, but thinkers like that who had such a vast array of talents in a lot of different fields. He had me introduced to people like the Renaissance painters, like Michelangelo and other people, to try to understand what commitment was and what a craft was and how to get really good at something. Right? It didn't matter what it was, but he had an affinity for that. Having something of an Italian background that didn't hurt, right? So that sort of started it off. Because of when I started in the movies, I kind of really like Jet Li, right? I thought his movies were fantastic. And then, but I got introduced into a world of people that are related to, in terms of lineage, to Bruce Lee, right? Um, for sure, a fan of Bruce Lee movies, but through my connection with people like my sort of like my father in martial arts, his name is David Hatch, is in Canton, Michigan, when I lived there, Michigan, for a number of years. And he got me connected with a world of martial artists. And one of the martial artists, his name was Dan Asano. He was a primary student of Bruce Lee, the
Yeah.
one chosen to take on Bruce Lee's legacy after Bruce passed. So starting with that, right, my connection, and which I still maintain with Dave Hatch, all the way through. There was Dan Asano, and then that led me. He's kind of like the gateway to a lot of different opportunities, right? So back in the early 90s when I started, you couldn't do Brazilian jiu-jitsu. You really couldn't find Muay Thai kickboxing, Filipino martial. These things were kind of niche, right? But fortunately, I got involved with those people, and that opened me up to where what I do today. Um, Now you can't swing a stick without hitting a jiu-jitsu school somewhere,
Yeah.
right? It's become so popular, right? I had the privilege of starting back in 1993 with jiu-jitsu when nobody could pronounce it. So
Yeah.
um, it's almost like I've got this whole family of people that guided me and built me up and took me different places and gave me different ways of looking at the world and thinking about things.
Yeah.
My Wing Chun Kung Fu instructor, it's a really neat kind of parallel. He's in Atlanta, Georgia, Francis Fong. He kind of opened my eyes up to body mechanics and focus and the mind body connection in certain ways. I got very involved in the early days in mixed martial arts competitions, right? Now, what everybody knows the UFC, they know maybe Bellator. I'm a big fan of what they call the One Championship. That's fantastic venue. Um, but I got to sort of see these things from the inception,
Yeah.
right? Because not only did I watch it, but I was doing it, right? I
Yeah.
was training at the same time. I was pretty green at the time all this was coming out, but it's just a really neat to see what it was and where it is now,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
it's insane. The level of people at a young age is just phenomenal. It's going to be. I have no idea, but
Yeah.
all I know is it's not going to stop anytime soon.
No, it certainly isn't. So let me ask you this. If you can meet one person alive on the planet right now that you find fascinating or inspirational and spend some time with them, who would it be?
One person alive today. Um, that's an excellent question. Um, you know what? I would really like to not only have a conversation with, but I'd like to spend some time. I would spend time with Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
For sure, amazing athlete, amazing boxer, but his story is wildly powerful.
Yeah.
Overcoming obstacles, putting obstacles in his own way, which he admits to. Um, and if you spend enough time listening to his story and what he does, the man is a wealth of knowledge. Like his history of boxing knowledge is insane,
Yeah.
right? He will dig back into some depth. He doesn't necessarily present himself, right? Especially perhaps back when he was fighting as a powerhouse on the intellectual side, let's say, right? But he's got a history, he's got a dedication. He knows a lot about the human body, he knows a lot about art history, but overcoming adversity, I think he's a fascinating character.
Yeah.
Um, and I think he has a I think he has a story to tell that can resonate with a lot of people that struggle, even if they didn't go through the depths and levels of struggles that he did. I think that kind of thing interests me,
Yeah.
right? How did you pull yourself out of X, Y, and Z bad place?
Yeah.
Anybody like that to me is kind of fascinating,
Yeah.
right? What tools did you use? What people did you have to rely on? Was there a philosophy? Was there an idea that sort of brought you out of this negative dark place that you were in? How did you do it? Can other people learn something? Can other people benefit from you getting out of there? And maybe I don't have a bad day like you did,
Yeah.
right? I don't think my worst day on this planet has never been as bad as days that he's had. I'm sure of it,
Yeah.
right? I have that privilege of saying that, right?
Yeah.
In most of it is psychological, right? I
Sure.
think we put ourselves in those really bad days. Um, but to those of us that don't have that depth of bad days, right? Maybe we have a responsibility of learning the tools and applying them and not getting sucked into those bad days so easily,
Yeah.
right? Maybe we can do a little more with what we've been given and be more responsible for the gifts, the blessings, the opportunities. And that's one of the things I'm really on my coaching side is trying to get people to appreciate and cultivate,
Yeah.
right? No matter where you are, if there's something you can appreciate that can make you feel better, gratitude, of course. And then what can we cultivate today to make your day better and then improve stepping forwards? I think that's very important.
So, what has consistently been your inspiration to get up, to do the hard work, to evolve, and to become who you are today, and to help others do the same thing in their lives?
Well, my why, what I would say is from the rather lovely book, What is Your Why? Um, my why changes over the years,
Mhm.
right? When I was younger, my why is I wanted to be just this just great martial artist, right? That's kind of vague, but that's what it was, right? There was a time when I had my school in Metro Detroit where I would sleep in my apartment was my office. I would sleep under my desk. We'd get up in the morning. We'd train. It was just sort of like the bonding of that. I had a morning group of guys, then I had an evening group of guys, and I slept in the afternoon. And I just wanted to be really good at this stuff, right? Then I got into competition, and I wanted to win. I wanted to be in competitive scenes. And then I got a little bit older, and the artistic part started to take over. And then the community part. I want to create a good community. I want to have people enjoy this. I want people to get something out of this that's maybe not what I'm getting out of it, right?
Yeah.
Not everybody needs to compete. Um, Now it's a little different. I have 4 children, and they range from 15 to 5. And I want to be around, right? I want to be around. I want to share this with them. I for sure. I love it, right? I get up and I just enjoy doing it, right? So there are some days where the bed is more comfortable than the gym, for sure. But my motivation is I know in the back of my head 5 minutes later, I'm good, right? That's usually the common story. If you just get yourself moving, get yourself going, then once you get to the gym, you fix that kind of problem.
Yeah.
Everybody has their bad days. I
Yeah.
also don't want to be because I had my started having my children, my wife and I, a little bit later, perhaps in life than others. With my daughter being 5, I want to be around. I want to be active, right? Um, we even when we go to the playground, right? Like I said, I just hit 52. I'm running on the. I can still do that. I can go down the slides. I can climb the monkey bars. I can chase her around, right? Perhaps that won't happen for some people because they just. I see this all the time, and it's kind of heartbreaking because I know I'm probably the oldest parent there of a 5-year-old at the moment. But they sit down, they watch their kids run around, and they're just trying to take a load off, right? I don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
I want to be the person when I hit 62, 72, I'm still active and moving around. So those are the people that I also connect with. And those are the people that I look up to that are it's always cool to admire the younger athletes, but I'm at a stage right now when I see a guy that's 52, 62. There's this one the fit old boy that I follow out of Poland. The guy's 70, 72, and it's just looks fantastic. He just started running sprinting, right?
Yeah.
Doing hurdles at like 69. Like, good for you. That's the kind of person, and that's what I want my kids to see.
Yeah.
So they'll be that kind of person too, right? Because I don't, we say something like 40 is the new 30. You hear all these kind of things, and it's so true, right? It's so accurate. The nutritional technology we have today is off the charts, right?
Yeah.
All the type of restorative therapies. You've got the red light. You've got the cold plunges. I mean the breath strips, right? If you've ever heard of like
Yeah.
hostage tape or something, that has saved me and potentially my marriage because I snore like I'm cutting down trees, right?
Yeah.
So all that kind of stuff. To the extent, and most of it, you can find a free version of it somehow, right? You can find free version of workouts, nutrition plans. You can find work on. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars on something. We have no excuse.
Yeah.
There's no excuse to have a what I would consider for most people a baseline health where you're not, you can walk, can you walk up and down the stairs without getting out of breath? Right? Can you bend down and pick something up without feeling like you're going to fall over? Those aren't even athletic skills, right?
Yeah.
Those are just day to day. Can you do something without feeling or saying that the grunt, oh, you reach down and get something.
Yeah.
That's not it. We're not even at a baseline of health, let alone um, a fitness or an athletic kind of level, right?
Yeah.
And I don't qualify that for anybody. If that's good enough for you, okay, I'm with you, right? You tell me where you want to get to. But usually, when we get to some kind of a baseline fitness, people start to think, "Oh yeah, okay, I can do a little more than this.
Yeah.
Maybe I can do some power walking, or I can do a 3K, or and because they start to feel, and I believe that as we challenge ourselves and we start to meet those challenges, we need to challenge ourselves more. And the problem is, I think in our psychology, especially in the United States, we have this idea that once I hit a certain age, things start to fall apart. Once I retire, things, now it's okay for me to be lazy and, have go whatever. I think that's a dangerous problem. I think it's led to a lot of our health issues is the way we have structured this overarching societal norm. Instead of saying, hey, at 50, 55, 60, whatever, when I retire, I'm going to be wrestling. I'm going to in the AAU senior division. I'm going to be going on hikes every day. Whatever. Well,
Yeah.
pick your idea. But we've sort of morphed this idea that my life sort of stops in a physical way at
Right.
X time, whatever people sort of come to understand that. I think that's foolish.
Yeah.
I think it's dangerous, and I think if you take I think it's also one of the reasons I have a job is because there are people that understand that that's dangerous and foolish, and they don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But en masse, I also think that I have a responsibility as an individual not to need to be taken care of either through insurance or Medicare, American. I don't need you to pay for my health.
Yeah.
I'm taking care of my health for as long as I can,
Yeah.
right? And I think that is when we each take that responsibility, we take the burden off of each other in other ways, right?
Yep.
When I'm feeling good and working out, I'm probably less of a jerk than I am if I'm eating too much sugar, drinking too much. I mean, I don't drink, but assuming somebody did
Yeah.
consuming, I mean, just sugar itself, will change your mood and your behavior, and apparently, from some of the stuff I'm reading, your aggression levels, right? It's just so if person A gets a handle of that and person B gets a handle of that, I think that nutrition and exercise, as well as a psychologically sound worldview, whatever that means to people, is a way we can sort of reformat,
Yeah.
right? And we can't really change anything but ourselves,
Yep.
right? I can't change en masse the group of people around me, but little bits at a time, if we can take that responsibility, now we can maybe make some cultural shifts
Yeah.
because there's a lot happening. And I think the way we think, the way we behave, and we're not connecting it to the way we live life,
Right.
right? We're not saying, hey, my poor diet is leading me down these roads, right? Or and even the connection between a poor diet and scrolling on the internet, or that sort of sedentary lifestyle. Then you scroll on the internet. Now your dopamine response is all messed up because you're constantly tracing that boost, that sort of that jolt to make you feel. These are, you just get up. You got to go for a walk, right? Like
Yeah.
if you're this crabby, the first thing, you just drink water and go for a walk. Let's just start there,
Yeah.
right? See what we can do for you.
So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
My goal is always to be a work in progress, the consummate student first. I love the learning process. And my perception of me is I want to be the one that's not giving up. I'm continually driving forward. In some days that's going to be a lot, right? And some days that's going to be, maybe my day is so busy I only had a 5-minute workout today. I can deal with that, right? So my perception of myself is, I almost think of myself as a professional student first, right? In an effort to, from the more nuclear method first, my wife and my kids, give to them what I'm gaining, and then expand it out to the client base and hopefully a community base, and then ever moving outwards like this. My goal is, if I can influence and affect people in a positive way, then I think I've accomplished what I wanted to for that day.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to hire you, reach out, learn more about what you do, any of the good business, where do they go?
Well, right now the synergycenter.net is our hub, right? That's where the website, and I can be contacted. It's the official Coach Chris on Instagram, Facebook. You reach me that way. The socials are pretty easy. Our stuff is really starting to pick up now, but anything like that, it's pretty easy to find me. On the website, it has all the training options and packages and things like that, which is a lot of fun. We can connect in person or connect virtually, depending on what people want to do.
Wonderful. Chris, thank you, man. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your
My
passion.
pleasure.
Best of luck with everything.
Thank you, sir. You take care.
Thank you. Take care.